So we're going to get into our show, baby. Who do we have that you're trying to get me to spend some money for?
We have the lovely, I'm going to give you our topics today. We have a show about breast cancer awareness on the Next Stop segment. And at 7 o'clock, we have divorce proofing your marriage. Now, I want to thank everybody for joining the McCain train. Get ready, buckle up for a great ride on our train, because on the next stop, we have the incomparable Barbara Bates. I know y'all know that name. Barbara Bates is here to talk to us about breast cancer awareness. So welcome, Ms. Bates.
Thank you so much.
And she is that fashion designer, everyone. So we're going to get into that. Baby, you ready for us to get right into it?
Yeah, go right into it.
Okay, I'm going to go right into it. We're going to do the backstory first, and we want to know, how did you and what inspired this fashion industry?
You know what, if I have to think about it, it goes back to when I was a little girl. I played with Barbie dolls. We all know Barbie dolls. You're a youngin'.
No, I don't.
I
don't know about Barbie dolls.
We used to do that.
Tracy.
Yeah, my sister made Barbie doll clothes too.
Don't know nothing
Still
about
got
Barbie.
the stuff.
You know about Ken? You remember Ken?
I knew Ken, but I never had a Ken.
Were you G.I. Joe?
Yeah, he made
G.I.
G.I.
Joe, yeah, man.
Steal Barbie from Ken.
Army toys, yeah, there you go. Roof, real
I
man.
love the Barbie dolls, but even more than the Barbie dolls, they used to come with clothes back in those days. So I would love the clothes. So I have to say that a love of clothes was something that was innate. I'd always enjoyed beautiful, beautiful fashions. And so growing up, in my mind, I just knew I wanted to be a fashion designer. And I had, my mom, who's still alive, and her two sisters were the most beautiful women that I had ever seen. They dressed beautiful. They looked beautiful. They were always well put together. And so I admired them. And so I just always thought, when I grow up, I want to be into fashion. I did not think I wanted to be a fashion designer. I thought that what I wanted to do was work in a boutique and sell beautiful clothing. Wanted to be a designer, but I was like, I don't think I have what it takes to do that.
You have what it takes, I see. Okay.
But at that time, I didn't have any other African American designers that I aspired to or looked up to. So it was just a dream. It was a dream.
It was just a dream.
It was just a dream.
It was manifested through what? That dream you see.
Through faith. It was manifested through faith for sure. Amen. So, going through high school after my sophomore year in high school, I had a traumatic incident. I got pregnant my sophomore year in high school. I had to leave my regular high school and go to an alternative school. There were only a couple of them back, in that particular day, and the one I went to was called Family Living Center. And so I went there, and it was a rough time, standing at the bus stop, being 15 and pregnant, and people looking at you and having their own thoughts about you, and your family members, everybody's just disgusted in you. You're pretty much disgusted in yourself. And all I knew was that I just wanted to just keep going. I didn't want to stop. So I did stay in school, and I went back to my regular high school, which was Marshall High School. West Side. After I had my son. And when I went back to my high school to register for my classes for my junior year, the counselor told me that, while I was at the alternative school, I had picked up so many extra credits that if I added another 2 credits onto my curriculum, that I could graduate a year early. And so I thought, I don't know if I could do that, but I'm sure going to try it. I don't know if it'd be too much on me. And so I did. I took the 2 extra classes, and I was actually able to come out of high school a year early with honors with my child sitting in the audience, in my mother's lap. So, but at the time that's happening, you don't think about it as a great story. You just think about it. I just thought about I'm just making things happen and just moving forward. So, I still always loved fashion. I wanted the best dress in high school. We used to have something called the Sharpie dance, and actually our late Herb Kent was the one who put the crown on me my senior year when I won Miss Sharpie at Marshall High School. And so I still wanted to dibble and dabble in fashion, but I didn't take the road to go to school to do it. So I kind of did it on the side. I did it by working a regular job, going to the fabric store, buying fabric. I had this unique thing inside of me that could speak to fabric. I mean, I knew what fabric could become. I could touch it and feel it, and I knew the weights, what they could become. And so I looked for people who knew how to sew, because I didn't know how to sew then, and I don't know how to sew today. 50 years later. But anyway, so I could sketch though. So I would sketch, and my friends would design things for me. And I started, designing, working at the First National Bank of Chicago. Girls would come by my desk, say they like what I was wearing. I would tell them to meet me in the bathroom on the 15th and the 31st. I'm sure you all know what that is.
Sound like you want to fight me in the
bathroom. When she talking to me, because that's how we were at First National Bank. Everybody was selling something. We'd go to a bathroom far away and peddle our product. Oh, look, we just gangsters.
Exactly. And so that's what I was doing. I was, peddling my product at break time and lunchtime. And then I got the courage to just say, I'm quitting this job. And I started Bates Designs in 1986 and put an ad in a newspaper for seamstresses and tailors. People would see my clothes from me wearing them and my girlfriends wearing them. My girlfriends, they would pay, $1 now. Some of them are still paying for the clothes they bought 30 years ago. That was
I got you, Bob.
Yeah. That's a great payment plan. I'm telling you.
See, they got payment plans, baby.
It paid off. It was great advertising. I didn't have to pay for television or radio. My girlfriends wearing the clothes, they gave me the exposure that I needed. And I was blessed along the way to meet different people that gave my business some visibility. And, one of those, of course, always people talk about, Michael Jordan, because that's one of the first names that they knew that brought recognition in Chicago. And I got, great reviews in the newspapers, that kind of thing. And then one day I got a call from this young lady who said, are you the same Barbara Bates that had a baby in high school? And I was like, what you talking about, Willis?
Why you trying to bust me out?
Why you going back there? Yeah.
She says, you won't remember me, but I remember you. I went to school with you, and I've been following your story. I just want to say I'm really proud of you. And I actually work with girls that are teens and they're pregnant. I want to know, would you come back to the West Side and would you speak to them and tell them your story?
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
And so
that's nice.
On the day that I got that call, I just, I hadn't had to deal with that. My son was probably about 13 then. It was nothing I really talked about. When you're growing up with somebody, they think that's your brother and it's really a child. And so I didn't have any intentions on going back to talk about it. I didn't know I wouldn't even know what to say. But on the day that I was supposed to go, I got a phone call, and I happened to answer my phone that day. And so she said, you're on your way. And I said, yes, I am. So I drove back to the West Side in the area that I grew up in. It was on Fifth Avenue at a hospital called Bethany. And when I went into the hospital, I went downstairs, and there were about 25 young girls, aged 11 to 15. They were all teen moms. And I proceeded to tell, what now is known as the Barbara Bates story. And I was just really telling the story of my life because I didn't have anything written out since I wasn't going to go anyway. I didn't know, I didn't know what I was going to say, so I just started telling the truth.
And that's a good story there.
And telling the truth, the room, it was quite emotional because it was my first time telling all of the story, and I thought that I was helping them by telling them a story, and I was helping myself. I started feeling strength in my story because they clapped when I said I graduated, early, and they clapped about what I was doing, and they made me feel really strong. And so that weight that I had been carrying around all that time had been lifted off of my shoulders. And I really felt like there was something I was supposed to do for them since they had done something for me. And so I said, whoever goes back to their high school, and graduates, I'll make your prom dress for free.
Oh, wow. That was nice.
So after that day, someone in that room went and called the Board of Ed and said, there's this girl who graduated from CPS school. She's a dynamic speaker. You should have her come and speak at your schools. She's got a story to tell. And that's kind of like what I did. I gave away the prom dresses underground. Nobody really knew what I was doing. And after about 10 years of doing that, somebody found out I had been giving away free custom prom dresses. And I started the Barbara Bates Foundation in 1999. And I'm just proud to say today we've given away over 500 dresses and 200 suits to inner city kids that just need, they're not the best or the brightest or the smartest or the lightest. They're just kids that need, they just need some encouragement. They need to feel beautiful for that particular night. And so that was something I could do for them, and so that's what I did.
That's a beautiful thing, because when it's coming from a beautiful person inside and out, young girls, because we're visual just like men are, but when you see an attractive, beautiful woman who designs something, want to help, it does make you feel better about yourself. Yeah. Because you walking in here really make me feel good.
Right.
And really good.
And I'll tell you this, Barbara, the joy and the positive reinforcement that you gave to those young ladies to see and hear your story, to imagine that they can make it because of you. Mm-hmm. I mean, you will never know how blessed they were to hear you. And to sit there and say, I didn't have anything prepared, I just told them the truth. I mean, that in itself was just, so much positive reinforcement for them that I know that those young ladies, now you think that the Barbara Bates Foundation, you gave all this, but the greatest thing you gave was that speech, because it started what you were doing.
It did.
And because people could see the humility and the honesty in you. Mm-hmm. That really started it. And I can't tell you how honored I am to actually hear that story come from you, because you saved a lot of young ladies. You helped them with their education. You probably saved someone's life by just letting them know at this time, though it might feel like you're at your worst, you can accomplish great things. As the Bible says, I can do all things in Christ that strengthens me. You gave them that strength, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Well, let's roll on because I'm just, like I said, in all. Let's go back to the fashion here.
All right.
It was a quote you had out there that, no, I'm going to let you say it. So what is your design philosophy?
I've had so many over the years. I believe that it's not so much as about the design. I like to design things that fit women. It's about the fit of the garment. You could be full figured. You could be 70 years old. Beauty is so much different now than what we used to think beauty was 30 years ago, especially with the natural hair coming along and full figured models. It just takes on a different note. It's beauty now is what you exude. It's not really. When you talk about the physical thing, it's pretty much what comes outside of you and what you do. And so my philosophy has just been that it's got to be, a cool. I love to do things that fit women. I think that any woman can wear anything as long as it's going to fit you properly.
So you don't
like a well-made clothes. Yeah, I like a well-made garment. I love to work with fabrics that are exotic and novelty pieces of fabric. One of the things people say, oh, I like Barbara's things, but they're too expensive. I just like to work with fabrics that are really high end, so that way, so the garment has to be an expensive garment at the end of the day. Not to say I don't do middle of the road things, but I like opulence.
Okay, then. Yeah. So it's what's her name? Steve Harvey's wife. I could see.
Oh my gosh, she's
Marjorie.
fabulous.
But that's you to me. I'm like, do you do her too? It seemed like you would be designing.
I'd love to meet her.
Okay, it seemed like you would be designing Marjorie clothes or something. I'm like,
well, I mean, if just by looking at you, let's speak that into existence. We've been trying to meet Steve Harvey ourselves, so maybe we can both get it going. Let's just go to that studio. We got something for you, Steve.
Her name
she can design the clothes. We got a show.
Steve actually tells the story that when he met Marjorie, he was wearing one of my suits, and he said it was so torn and ratted and torn on the inside. The lining was torn out from wearing it so much, and so. That's a nice story that he tells me. I haven't connected with her yet through that story.
Well, you need to keep her in Chicago for a moment for you can meet with her. So I see you give back to the community in more ways than one with speaking engagements and going back and helping young girls who probably, like my husband was saying, don't feel too confident about themselves. But we're going to propel this on to that foundation. Because I know you just had a big event, 2 weeks ago, was it?
Actually, it was about 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
I had my foundation. I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2009, and I went through chemo and radiation, and that was a really, really rough time for me. Like in the Bible, I'm sure that you all know the story of Job. So the story of Job was never really one of my favorite stories. I would just they're always talking about this old Job guy, but who would want all of that stuff to happen to them? Their body being stricken and everything taken away, and then to have your kids killed, and you get some new ones. I think, even though sometimes I can't stand my kids, I don't know if I'd want them to die, and then get some new ones. But in 2009, the year prior to that, my youngest son was actually convicted of a nonviolent drug offense. He was in school in Champaign making bad decisions, and he received a horrific sentence. And at the time that he received the sentence, when he walked out of the courtroom, he received a 19-year prison sentence for conspiracy to distribute.
Wow.
And when he walked out of the courtroom, because they give you 3 weeks to straighten your affairs out, he just looked at me and said, "Ma, what am I going to do? The only thing that could save me is a commutation from the president." And I was like, nothing beats a failure but a try. We're going to try to work this out. First of all, I didn't have a clue what a commutation was, so I had to go.
Let me look that up.
Yeah, I had to go and look it up. But it was a time that was devastating. My heart was actually broken. If you have ever felt what a broken heart is, I could actually feel the blood leaking. I could feel the pressure in my heart. It was just a terrible time. My business was failing because the year of going back and forth to court, I could not really concentrate on anything else except how did he get himself into this? This is so unnecessary, and is he going to get himself out of it? And so my business was suffering, and on the 29th of April, he self-reported to Terre Haute Correctional Facility.
Yeah.
That Saturday, crying in the bed, I felt the lump in my breast, and on Monday, June 1st, I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
Wow.
And so I just started thinking, so much has happened, and I'm like that guy, Job, and actually I didn't really think it at that time. I didn't even stop to think why is this happening to me? I was just kind of going along with it. I wanted to have a nervous breakdown, but I had a business to run, so I could have a 2-minute breakdown.
Okay.
And I had to take chemo, come back to work,
Yeah.
go visit my son. And plus, I had told him that I was going to fight for him, against this thing called mandatory minimum sentencing, which affects so many, African American, Latino men and women, incarcerating them for time that is just not just with what they've done. Yeah, he's guilty of something. I'm sure he did what you said he did, but that time has nothing to do with what he did, and that's what's unfair. And the judges need to have discretion when it comes to putting away these young people for such a long time and ruining their lives. And so I did, I had started that campaign on the fight, but after the diagnosis, and I was told that I couldn't get stressed out and that I had to take care of me first. So I did do the year of treatment, and I had a lumpectomy. I wasn't getting mammograms, so I didn't really think I was at risk. And I found out that anybody is at risk, that it doesn't make a difference what color you are, what age you are, how well you eat, how much you exercise, that 1 in 8 women will get breast cancer. And even though more white women will get breast cancer, more black women will die from breast cancer. I was really privileged to be able to go to a great hospital. My treatment was done at Northwestern Hospital. I had a great oncologist. My pastor, Dr. Horace Smith, who's a hematologist, also was, he was really instrumental in getting me good treatment over at Northwestern. So after I finished the treatment, I went back to fighting for my son. And, at the end of the day, coming through breast cancer, my son stayed in school to continue his education, even though he was incarcerated. He was on the dean's list. I started to have more of an appreciation for Job. And I think the unwavering faith is kind of maybe what he had that made the story so great, because I did have faith. I really believed that I wouldn't succumb, that my death or demise would not be from breast cancer.
Amen.
And I knew that my son was going to come through this and was not going to do 19 years in prison. I really didn't know how we were going to come through it, but I just believed that I could fight for him, and I would be fighting for other people as well while I fought for him. And he is still incarcerated. He's been there for 7 years, and I know that in the Bible it says that 7 years is renewal and restoration. And right now we have a clemency petition on the president's desk in Washington, and I believe 99.9% that is going to get signed and that he'll be home before the year is out. And so he is brand new. I don't have the same son. So the one that I had died, and I did get a new son. So you can take these stories and you can really turn them around to really, to really add some comfort, to myself and to other people that may be going through the same thing. And because he saved me, from a demise with breast cancer, I knew that I had to give back some kind of way. And so I did it through what came easy for me, which was fashion. So I decided to put together a fashion show where all the models would be breast cancer survivors. And we would raise money and give it to an inner city hospital. And that hospital that I picked is Mount Sinai.
Wow.
Right.
So
that's
cool.
the backstory. You did You did not let what happened to you stop you. It propelled you. And it's usually that way, that once you're going through something else is going on, even though your son's situation was going on first and then you get diagnosed. But God always, when you're going through struggles and pain, the best thing is to stop thinking about yourself.
Exactly.
And once you stop thinking about yourself and helping others, that's where your blessings come from. Now, where is your location at for the boutique?
I'm in the South Loop. I'm on 20th in Indiana.
She's right around here.
Yeah.
Walking distance,
most
hubby.
People don't
I take all forms of payment.
Most people don't know. Most people don't know what right around here is.
Okay, 4108 South King Drive. And we're going to go where, Barbara?
2031 South Indiana.
Yeah. And, you can go over there anytime you want to, baby. Just make
What's
sure that the
hours?
card and the checkbook don't come with you.
I was planning on taking a blank check before I left.
Okay.
That's how you're going to get it. You're going to take it from me.
You got to get that payment plan going,
What's the hour?
Got 30-year payment plan.
Yeah.
Let me
I'm there during
advertise
the
her
week,
clothes.
9 till 6, and then Saturdays by appointment.
Okay, 9 to 6. And I can't say this because I'm doing a shout out for Michelle Palm. I have Michelle, I want to say Mickey. I always admire how she style her because her stuff is not in the regular, clothing store. It's high end, low end, Nordstrom, Northern. You don't see that. That's why it seemed like it's fitted exactly for her. Yeah. Or she go in there and.
It's great taste. She has wonderful taste. She wears clothes really well.
Yeah.
She does. That's why I love it.
Let me ask you this, Barbara, because I want you to talk to someone out there, because there's got to be someone that's listening, and we like to thank our listeners. We got Barbara Brates here talking with us on the breast cancer awareness information. Barbara, I want to talk a little bit about breast cancer, because there's got to be a lady out there that's listening on the show that right now is going through the first stages of it, and that's a little bit, down,
Sure.
Talk to her a little bit and give her some hope that, that just like you, she too can make it.
So when I received the diagnosis, I was stunned. I mean, I couldn't move. I was stunned in time. And it takes a little while to come through. And it was on a Monday, and on that Monday, I had been invited to go to someone's Bible class. And they kept me at the hospital that day, running tests and all of that. But when I left, I kept the appointment for Bible class. And I went there, and in the class, they asked, is there anyone that wanted to share anything? And so I just stood up and I said, 4 hours ago, I got diagnosed with breast cancer. And they gathered around me, and they started praying because I could not think of a prayer to say. I just could not, find.
I understand.
I didn't know what to say. I just did not know what to say. So for someone who is initially getting hit with it, the first thing the first thing I thought about is, is this the way that I leave here? I didn't think it would be now. I want more time. The prayers that I received gave me that saying, that peace that passes all understanding. I got that because not only did the people in the room pray for me, I had just become familiar with Facebook, and I posted on Facebook, and I don't even know how you post. That day that I did it, somebody had to help me that I had been diagnosed, and I just, floods of prayers come through, and reading the prayers is what gave me some strength. And then knowledge about what is breast cancer. So for me, I really didn't want a bunch of knowledge because I didn't want overload on it, because there's so many different types of breast cancer, and they give you the option of what kind of treatment do you want. Now, how could you dare come to somebody who does not know anything about all this treatment and give us 20 different things that we could do? I'd rather say, well, if it were you, what would you do? And that's kind of what I did. I was just like, well, what would you do? Because there are so many, options that they give you.
Right.
So I think that the first thing you need to do is probably have someone either who's knowledgeable with you to talk to your doctor to find out the types of treatment, and if they are good, always get a second opinion for the types of treatment that you're getting, because my first opinion was to have both of my breasts removed. And then when I went to another hospital, they said because of the type of breast cancer, you can go with just having the lump removed, but you'd have to go through chemo, and you'd have to go through radiation, and then a year of Herceptin, which is like a chemo treatment. And so, I decided to do the latter. But sometimes if you carry the BRCA gene, which is a mutation that would probably have the gene in your system, you'd probably want to have your breast removed, because it's a likely chance that you will get breast cancer either in one or in both, and so you want to make a smart decision.
Yeah.
The other thing you want to do is you want to have people around you who could maybe just be helpful to you, because you may just get to the point you don't feel like doing anything. If you have to have chemo and radiation, the one thing it takes away is your energy. It zaps you of all your energy. And so you may want to have somebody who can clean for you, somebody who could cook for you, or somebody who could just tell you a joke, make you laugh. But then again, you also may want to have just some quiet time, because I had so many people that wanted to go to treatment with me, and I would give dates on that weren't true dates in hopes that they wouldn't come, because sometimes I just I wanted to just daydream. I wanted to just daydream about all of the stuff that was going on with me, because there was more than just breast cancer going on. There was so much that was going on. And I guess the other thing that you need to know is that treatment is so advanced that breast cancer does not mean a death sentence. The slogan, early detection is key. That is really true.
Yeah.
Women who wait and say, I don't want to get a mammogram because it's going to hurt. Well, no, what hurts is when the doctor tells you that you waited too late, it's metastasized, and there's nothing we can do for you. So I encourage anyone who's listening to go in to get a mammogram. Don't be afraid. And in this day and time, with we have the Affordable Care Act. We have there's insurance that's out there, but some of us are walking around with no insurance. And so there are so many hospitals out there that will take you without insurance. You can go for mammograms, and they have programs out here for women, and they will treat you from the inception of finding out that you have breast cancer all the way into the end. So good treatment is really, just treatment is really something that you'd want to seek. But the first thing you've got to do is you've got to walk in there, and you've got to go and you have to get a mammogram.
She is so encouraging, because I mentioned to you earlier off air that I received my letter, and sometimes I dread it when I see, you have to come in and get your mammogram. And I'm like, God, it hurt. But every year, you have to do it. So let me get off my butt and call them tomorrow, schedule my appointment, because I put it off. I'm like, I don't want to do it, because every time I do it, it seems like, honestly, I shrink. Like you smashing my breasts. They little, but this girl talk, baby. This girl talk.
Well, you know what? I can remember getting mammograms I used to think that it felt excruciating, but now when I go get them, even though they smash me to the end,
yes,
there's no pain anymore because you just have to weigh, do the scale and weigh it. It lasts for all of, maybe you're in there for 10 minutes if you have a good technician that can make it happen. You're in there for 10 minutes. Now, if you're going through treatment, then, you're talking about a year or 2 years of treatment. So when I go in there now, well, first of all, I'm still shaking my boots when I go in there. I know God doesn't give us the spirit of fear, but you need to be afraid about breast cancer, women, because it is so prevalent out here right now, and it just comes. I don't know. They still don't know why. I don't know why, but I just know that every single day, every few minutes, somebody's being diagnosed, not just women, but also men. And they tell you don't get a mammogram until you're 40. That's not true. I've taken chemo with 20-year-olds and 30-year-olds. And so you just have to do self-exams, and you have to be proactive about going to, get checked either with an ultrasound or with a mammogram. But when you get those notices about going in to get the mammogram, just do it and get it out the way. Go do it.
So
that's the word.
Barbara, we're going to go into a commercial break right now. For those of listening, you're listening to Barbara Bakes, and we're talking about breast cancer and awareness and giving a lot of information. This is Reverend Rick McCain, along with my baby, my girl, my boo, Aunt Brenda McCain, Tracy Brown Howard, and we'll be back with final information from Barbara after these commercial breaks.
Good evening. The Let's Stay Together show presents Point of View by Donna Terrell.
Random